Okay. Oh, it's already afternoon. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this session. Myself is Imran, and I'm from Oracle. I guess it's audible. The voice is okay. That's great. Yeah. So today's session, we would be talking about Oracle's role in providing, the accessible solutions and products for our people with these special needs. So this is something what we have is just a brief program agenda today. So I'll give you an overview of what's accessibility and how it's being used in Oracle in developing the products, and what is Oracle Accessibility Program, and conformances basically on the rules and the laws of the various regions, what we follow and how do we incorporate them into our product development and in product design, some FAQs, and finally the conclusion. To start with, what is accessibility? There are multiple definitions, but the most important thing is, which Oracle takes in is about making the user interface which is perceivable, operable, and understandable by the people with the special needs or with the people with the abilities. So this is how we as Oracle look into these things. And there are various modes and various ways of the accessibilities. First of all, how do we make the products work for the users? Basically, we think of the users who are the end users. End users can be of various forms. Could be you will be working, could be the students who will be just using it for their daily usage, for their self-services of any applications or anything. So basically talking about how we can help them for the visual impairments, and for the people with the hearing abilities, and with motor or with the cognitive abilities. This is something which is there. And when we talk about the assistive technologies, how can we build this assistive technologies into our applications or into our softwares? So there could be various inputs which we normally see for the, it could be from the keyboard or from the mouse or from the touch keyboard with the accessibility and with the accessibility things. And so this is something what we call it it's the inputs in our terms. We take it as an operate, and once any input is given, how it is perceived by the end user, because perseverance is something which is very much important. So this is what we do. And from the confirmations and from the conformance of what are the various laws across the globe, the way we incorporate into our solution is not only taking care of the particular regional laws, which could be the US, but we talk about the global laws, which could be Section 508 or Section 509, which is the latest one which is coming up, or from the European Accessibility Act, or for the most important is something with the UN conventions for rights. That's something which we have incorporated. So we take care of all these regulations, laws by the different bodies and different areas throughout the globe, and we incorporate and we make sure we have all the conformance and incorporations according to these laws. So what Oracle is doing is, Oracle has invested a lot, and we take accessibility as one of our serious into consideration, not only when we design or develop the products, but it is coming directly from our top management, from our CEO Safra Katz, and I quote, it's this is the Oracle is committed to create accessible technologies and products that enhances the overall workplace and the workplace environment, and contribute to the productivity of our employees, our customers who are using our applications or products, and customers like their end users, because ultimately it's what we are focused on in providing or developing the products which are more and more accessible friendly, which could be addressing various needs for the accessible or people with the special needs. So in Oracle, we have a dedicated accessibility program office which reports in directly to our senior management, to our CEO's office. And that's where this shows our commitment of the Oracle's product in terms from the starting from the development and these things. One thing which I wanted to highlight here is not only we are actively take parts in designing and development of our products, but also Oracle is an active member for the standard bodies globally, or with the regulatory bodies, like for example W3C, ISO, or JTC1. So this is we are part of those bodies, and we're part of the regulations, and we sit with them, and we design, or we are part of their regulations as well. So when we talk about designing an application or any product for Oracle, it is not just like the user interface, like as an end user what you see, it's like which is more accessible or which is more these things. So we incorporate all these accessibility features from the time of say designing and development. Even our developers who actually develop or who write codes for the programs or for the applications, they also take care into the consideration of the requirements of the abilities and the people there. And then we do have it goes across the stages, like for the testing phase, and when we do all the testing of the applications, we make sure it is addressing to the needs of all the special needs of the people, and it takes care of all the inclusions for all the different needs of the people. And not only that, there is something called documentation, or the product documentation what we provide, and we make sure to the product documentation is also inclusive for all the people of the special needs and with the disabilities. So there are certain design and development checklist which Oracle has put in place. So it starts from say the US section 508, and when the web content accessibility guidelines, this is way back in 2013, but now if you see the web content accessibility guidelines 2.0 or 2.1, which is something which is coming up, the latest one. So today as all Oracle products are compliant with web content accessibility for 2.0, and when it comes to 2.1, I would say yes, its work is in progress, and it should be coming in future time. You will see soon that as well. So since June 2019, even the revised US section of 508, and as I told for web content accessibility guidelines 2.0, which is already we take in, we make sure most of our products are compliant and are in conformance with these guidelines. So when it comes to the testing phases, there are different types of styles of tests. Some of them what we recommend or what we normally follow in our testing of our applications before we bring it out to the market is automated testing, which is the algorithm based. Then it is for the human judgment, which is tools assisted, because there are a lot of tools or technologies which will be required for the input for the data, maybe keyboards or something like mouses and other things. And we have it for the manual for operations, which is the documentation which I have mentioned earlier, is it's also fully make sure Oracle when they develop any documentation for the support for the products, that also has, or it is compliant with the special needs thing. And this is what I have just mentioned about the documentation. It is when we develop or design any write any documentation about the products, there are certain things which we definitely take care is must itself be accessible, all the documentation, product documentation, the support, the implementation guidelines, and the using for the end users, how do you use these applications. Let me give you an example for, like, say, any ERP applications, what we talk about, or any HR, which is related to the human resources services. Or when we come to the universities, like we'll talk about, like, the student self-services, like how the students can, like, use the self-services of Oracle applications. Is something like all the documentation, the user guides, in normal terms what we say, it is all accessible enabled, and it includes all the instructions to configure the products, plus, like, if there is any authoring tool, like in Oracle we do have an authoring tool which we use normally to create some custom content, to create some custom, like I would say, user guides. Okay, so that's where, like, even while creating your own content or the user guides, the tool itself, includes the instructions, like, how to use and to build your accessible, like, user guide or the output or the content of it. So many Oracle products have accessibility and chapter and reference and manuals. Some, like, if you need more and more information, you can visit our website, which I will post it here. It's very simple. It's oracle.com/accessibility, where you get all the details and what are the products and the guidelines available there. So this is like after post implementation, there are some customer support when it requires. So even we take into our consideration in developing the customer support people, like people who will be there back and supporting, like if you ran into any kind of problem, or if you see, like, okay, some of these functionality or some of the features which is important for the people with like, special needs is missing or could be kind of a bug. So we as Oracle, we take that on a priority and make sure, like, it is delivered as quickly as possible. So what Oracle has been doing is, yes, we are very much actively in promoting the accessibility in collaboration with the various organizations like NGOs. One of them could be, like, with the National Federations for the Blinds. There what we do is we start with sharing and reviewing the of standards, like each and every like often times we sit with them, we understand what are the latest requirements and how we can incorporate there, and we do provide a lot of accessibility days, like we participate and we promote these kind of accessibility summits and conferences, like what we are doing it here with the AUB is we participate and we promote, and also we do provide certain trainings for the trainers or for the faculties who are addressing or who are providing the education or the training for the special needs, students with the special needs. And we are a member and we are actively participating in employment and accessibility technology. So you can find we have a lot of the latest reports with the UN in collaboration with the UN and with the various organizations on our website, which is publicly available. You can visit, which I just mentioned. It's oracle.com/accessibility. That's where you can get all the latest news and what we do there in the citizens reports and things. So coming to the conformance, like the first thing what Oracle majorly it follows in time of developing of our products is the voluntary product accessibility template. We call it like VPAT, and this is something which is the industry standard confirmation or the conformance report, which means to provide whether test the product is in conformance or in accordance with all the accessibility requirements. So this is something, or the standards what we say. And the latest, if you would like to learn more about, you can get our white papers, which is available on the same web page. You can download those white papers and you can study and you can see as much as is there. So even our VPATs are available, and they are posted on as and when the new product gets updated or the new releases comes in, it's updated and it's available. So you can visit our product status pages, and from there you can see if there even the new release, which is upcoming release, or the recently product which has been there, whether it is in accordance with or in conformance with the ability or accessibility acts. So if you have anything this is where you can just drop an email to accessible.www.oracle.com. This is where you get to know all the latest and the information and for what Oracle is providing. So basically the product accessibility, it's not just one piece which we talk about, like the user interface, or it's not just one the hardware piece. It is the collaboration, or I would say it's the mix of it's basically the responsibility for each and every department, each and every person. Could be from the product side, like a vendor like us, like Oracle, in part of designing and developing of the product. And then once the designing and development is done, it is something which is how it is being implemented at the customer side, like for the implementation partners or the system integrators who normally does the implementations. So during the time of implementations, are they taking care of whether the product is being implemented the way it's supposed to be, to give the benefit of it to the people with the special needs. And training, that's one of the major component, because it's while providing the training, the training documentation as well as the training, is it being provided for the people with the special needs or with the accessible needs? That's something which is there. And if you see, most of the time what happens is when you come towards the end users who are using the products, is say browsers, or sometimes they say, okay, the browsers are not compatible for certain accessibility features. So this is something which we need to make sure how it is done. So coming to certain the most common FAQs which is required, which is asked for us for Oracle. Do Oracle products conform to WC, that's the Web Content Accessibility Act 2.0? Yes, we are committed in providing all the or developing all the applications based on the WCGA standards 2.0. There is a latest one which is 2.1 which is coming in. So the Oracle is working towards it, and it's should be available. And the other one is the most commonly asked questions is when it comes to the hardware, to the assistive technology or the tools, assistive tools, whether it works only with one specific tool or Oracle products, or it can be generic. So the way we develop our product is it's coded to be work with most of the tools, the assistive tools which is available. It's not any product specific, or it's I would say, or any vendor specific. It's mostly device agnostic across, and the only thing is it has to be followed with certain rules and policies mentioned there. And one of the most commonly things which is being used whenever the application is developed or implemented in any of the customer's location, there are a lot of customizations which is done by the customer itself. So after doing that customizations, or when you build certain custom products, will that particular bit of your customization will be accessible? Yes, Oracle provides those tools, and all the tools which are provided by Oracle to develop these custom products. It is based, and it is if you develop your custom solutions based on the guidelines which is provided by the Oracle. So even your customized products can be like fully compliant with the accessibility. So I would say finally, yes, Oracle is committed in creating an accessible products, technologies, and the solutions, and the kind of rules which I've been talking about, like the standards what we follow. It's mostly like the section for like 508, which is US based, and globally which is accepted, and web content accessibility guidelines, which is 2.0, which is another one which we follow. We use voluntary product for the accessibility template. That's something which we use. And if you need further more information about Oracle and Oracle's accessibility program and certain documentation, white papers, or some research documents, you can visit our website, which is oracle.com/accessibility. So you will get all the information there. And if you need to send any specific information, if you feel like you need to get certain very specific information, you can send an email to accessible_ww@oracle.com. So that's it from my side. Any questions, anything? I know it was quite quick presentation. Yeah. Thank you.